All right, welcome back, everyone. We are live with our Wednesday crew, and like I mentioned on a couple other live streams, we're going to hopefully start adding school members with us to join us. So this week we got Jeff Dombach with us. He goes by JLD Systems in the chat, but I got my two regulars, Joe and Lauren. So morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
All right, so let's kick it off, Jeff. I know you've been on once or twice before. You had some Wi-Fi issues, but let's see if it holds up today. But why don't you introduce yourself quickly? And I know we're going to touch on some self-managing things, right?
You bet. I invest in York, Pennsylvania, and my brother and I have a property in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We've been self-managing our rental units basically all my life. I started out as a kid helping my dad when he was rehabbing units. He bought this 4 unit in Hagerstown, Maryland, and turned the basement into 2 more units, that value add plan. And I remember going there with him on Saturday mornings and hanging out and nailing 2x4s to the floor and spilling paint on the carpet. So I've been in it since I was a wee little lad. So
Oh, Mark's.
I can't hear you,
If
Mark.
anyone is hearing background noise, let me know. Joe, I think it's you again. I'm hearing like back feed, like when someone's talking, it's coming through your mic, seems like. 'Cause
Yeah,
every,
I've got a Mac.
yeah, I don't know, because whenever I mute you, I don't hear that background feed coming in.
Do you guys, Lauren? Do you hear any background feed?
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's like picking up everyone talking and it's coming back through your mic, seems like. Um, but yeah, Jeff, it was cool to meet you in person finally at the Vegas event. So it was a lot of fun. All of you actually was your first time in Vegas. Also, everyone, Jeff does have a YouTube channel that he started. He's trying to get some momentum there. So we'll put his channel in the chat so you guys can go subscribe. And then also, I'll put Lauren and Joel's on. Lauren has been putting out a lot more content out there. So I'm very proud of her. She's been pretty
Thank you.
consistent with Instagram and her YouTube. She got Emily Lopez on recently. But Jeff, yeah, I mean, you want to touch on maybe your thoughts at a Vegas event also for your first time there and maybe the school community where we're all at?
Yeah, it was awesome event. Got to meet a lot of great people. I met the three of you there, and I got to meet people that I've been connecting with online for a couple years. I met Dion and Mike, of course, and got to know Jen and Tam a little bit, and got to meet Millennial Mike and lots of other people. Spent a little time with Jason Hartman. That was really cool. Got to meet Pace Morby. I would that was I have more mixed feelings, but that's where he's at. That it doesn't kind of really jive with my life. So it was worthwhile listening to him and talking with him and communicating with him. But it's just never. That's so far off of my radar. I think I'm at the point now where I'm happy with the 34 units we have, and I'm looking more to do some optimization and stabilization. Trying to get rid of my dogs, and there may be one or two more properties. I say that, but I'm still young, so a young 63. I'm sure that I'll buy a few more yet. But I'd like to inner city properties and buy intentional built townhouses that are a little more suburban, so they're um, not as old and easier to take care of, easier to rent, etc. So yeah, it was a great event. Lots of great information. It was really cool to see some of the people that were talking more about mission and purpose than just the real estate. I'm really going to do bad at this. The couple that was doing the senior living thing, to hear them talking about wanting to have mission and provide, that was really just got to go buy more real estate. I just want to make the money, because it's that purpose and those missions behind us in the background that are going to carry us through the tough times and the hard times, like when you can't find a flipping tenant, or suddenly you're doing 3 rehabs instead of the one you were expecting to do. And, it just gets kind of crazy sometimes, but you just got to keep pushing through. And it's those missions like taking care of family and taking care of people that carry you through those tough times.
Well, before maybe Lauren or Joe ask you any questions about maybe your story, your portfolio, I do want to let everyone know we are going to, like I said, try to get a different school member joining us every Wednesday. Next week, Harrison, Trade Better 99, will be joining us Wednesday. But if you do want to jump on with us, message me in school, or yeah, just let me know. But you guys got any questions for Jeff right now?
Yeah, I'm curious so you started with your dad, but when did you kind of get into it on your own?
So in 1984, my wife and I bought a duplex. So
Why are you laughing, Joe?
house hacked before house hacking was a word, and that was our real first experience buying real estate. And we lived in one unit for a couple years and rented the other unit. And then our 2 kids, we had the second kid, and we kind of outgrew the space. So we were trying to figure out what to do next, and ended up renting another house for we are lousy tenants. My wife and I just do not make good tenants. I would not rent to me if anybody came to me, and if I came to me and said, I want to rent a house. So we rented a house for a year, and then we were like, what are we going to do? And we went out and we bought the cheapest thing we could, which just happened to be an old beat up mobile home in a park south of the city. It was a disaster. Basically, I went in and rehabbed the mobile unit, tore out all the flooring, put in new vinyl floor. At that time, we didn't have vinyl plank then. Painted the whole place, did some work in the kitchen, and made a decent enough place. And we moved in and lived there for a year. And then I got a promotion, and my income, I was living the high life, because my income went from $24,000 a year to $35,000 a year. And I thought I was the king of the world. So then we ended up private selling, or purchasing through a private sale, private investor, another house in Brownstown, which was actually like the opposite side of the county, north of the county. And we lived there for a while and sold the mobile home, which I was amazed we kind of broke even a little bit, even after paying commissions and so forth. So I was happy to just move on from it. And so I don't know how much more story you want, but after we bought the place in Brownstown, then I had been promoted to a position that had 11 people in that position in the 5 years that I had worked for that company. And so the longest one somebody had stayed 2 years. And so when I got to the 2-year anniversary of that position, I got uncomfortable and squirrely and decided, okay, I'm not going to be fired. I'm going to leave. So then I got another position, and we moved from Lancaster to Ohio, and bought a house in Ohio and sold the house in Brownstown. And we still kept the 2-unit in the background all the time. I had a property manager managing it. This was like my first experience with why I dislike property managers. He, every year I'd say, don't you think it's time to raise the rent? And he said, no, we can't raise the rent. We don't want the tenant to leave. Like
Really?
5 years later, he's still not raising the rent because we can't have the tenant leave. We can't have the tenant leave. So suffice to say, me and property managers typically don't get along very well. Although I do love Jen, PM Jen, that I introduced Mark to. I'm seriously considering buying property in her market just so she can manage it for me.
Yeah, so if people don't know, if they don't remember, Jen has been on my channel a few times. She also did attend the Vegas event. So yeah, Jeff and her, Jeff is the one that actually introduced me to her, and she's been on Zuber's channel. Joel, you got any questions for Jeff? I got a few, if not.
Well, I was laughing because he was doing the math, 21 years old, buying his first house. Like that's just old school, and that doesn't happen these
Yeah,
days.
actually 23, but yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Well,
because
so
of my gut experience in real estate, there was no way I was going to do anything else. How much do I have to save to buy this house? I got to buy a house. That was like the number one goal before we could have kids. That was what I told my wife, that I wanted to own a house before we had kids. So she was on board with trying to get a house, and buying a duplex made sense. So
all right, so I want to kind of fast forward. I mean, move up a little bit to currently, because you said you did kind of want to touch on systems and self managing. So I kind of want to know why you wanted to go down that route. But then just now, you said you may want to buy properties in Jen's area. So yeah, kind of clarify that, and maybe, like I said, talk about your systems and self managing and why you went that route.
yeah, so we self-manage because that's the way my dad did it. He did all the management for a number of years as he was getting older and getting closer to retirement. My brother and I used to run back and forth and manage his property because he was in Japan or Europe or Australia or wherever around the world he was, and we ended up managing his properties. But the thing that a lot of people say that really turns me off is a lot of people that get property managers, the property manager makes more than the owner, and I don't want to give up that percentage of my income and my profit to a property manager. Although I've listened to Jen talk a couple times, and she says, I don't care what you think I'm going to cost, but I guarantee you that I'll get you as much more return than you're getting now while I'm managing the property. So I know that she has systems and processes in place to optimize and stabilize properties, and she's shown me some of those systems, and inspires me and increases my confidence level in her. We do not buy anything out of area because I want to be able to self-manage. So that's how I control my destiny. I don't see myself as being a great acquirer. I generally try and get good deals and great deals, but I would not say that I beat the average guy. I think my strength is in managing properties and dealing with tenants and trying to be kind of the face to it. My wife helps a lot. She knows most of the tenants, and she goes out with me on calls, and when we have fixed things, and she meets new tenants, prospective tenants. She's much better at reading prospective tenants, whether they give you a good vibe or a bad vibe. She does much better at that than I do, but I kind of feel like that's where my strength is. So that's why I continue managing properties.
Before we get to Steven from the Bronx's question for Jeff, Joel and Lauren, do you guys have property managers? Have you guys self-managed? What's your guys' thoughts on kind of this? You see it more now, a big push for wanting people to self-manage. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I mean, if you have a great property manager, I think it's worth it. The problem is it's hard to find a great property manager. I self-manage. I only have one long-term rental, and that's in Hawaii, and I've had that tenant for 8 years. And I originally did have a property manager, but they weren't doing anything for us. Like, they would find the tenant and place the tenant, but anytime there was a call, they would ultimately like call us to about the repair. And and then or they would like handle it in-house, but they weren't very good at managing the repairs. So yeah, I just ended up canceling the property manager because I was like, it's easier to just do it myself. And I feel like with the internet today and being able to find tenants yourself and be able to screen and do background checks, it's really not necessary. That being said, if you have a lot of units, it can become more complex. So I think it all depends on the property manager, like anything else. It's like real estate agents. Like people are like, why do I need one? Why are they valuable? But then when you have a really good one, you see their value.
Joel, any thoughts on the self-managing side of things?
Yeah, I mean the struggles that I had on the property management side had been with my multifamily. You know, my fourplexes in South City, St. Louis. These are built in the 30s. There's stuff breaking down all the time, and the fee percentage was okay, like I don't know, 8%, but I pretty much want to say fraudulently were cooking the books on the expenses, right? You know, you might see an invoice here or there, but the actual expenses where they'll charge, you know, $300 for this thing, but really the laborer that's on their team, it only costs $200 or $150. So they pad the books on the expenses, and you know, when you're busy working and you know, like a job and family, like there's just only so much time in the day to to micromanage the stuff. And so I did change companies along the way, but still the same kind of thing happened. And I don't know, I've had an unfortunately poor experience with property managers. Now I did have a couple single family units that I managed on my own, and it was a lot easier. But the 4 units that I can't manage that on my own.
Yeah, I think somebody just posted it in school. It was they were kind of replying to someone's original post. I think it was Joseph Cachapalia, and he's in San Antonio. You know, he's an agent out there. He's into his fractional real estate, but he made a great point, I think, on this property management, self-management side of things. He says a lot of times when people are searching for property managers, their first question is always like, "What's your fees?" And it's like people are trying to find the cheapest or lowest fees with the lowest cost, but yet they want the best property manager. So he finds it odd that a lot of people, their first question is, how much are you going to charge me? What kind of fees do you charge? And they're not really getting to understand who the property manager really is, right? So I think that's where sometimes the struggle is people are trying to get the lowest fees they have to pay. That's also what type of service might be provided for you, right? So if you go with the lowest cost, that's kind of might be sometimes a lot of times a service that you're going to get. But Steven from the Bronx does ask, Jeff, I love that Jeff is part of this ORAT community. He always brings great value to us, but what made him join ORAT even though he already has such a large portfolio and years of experience?
Because I wanted to be part of community and network with others in the same field of experience. I have a technical background, software and dealing with electronics in my past. I don't, I'm not typically out there with people. It's usually just me and my computer. And as my wife said, I'm a social butterfly, so I need to get out and interact with people and see other people. And I'm constantly trying to learn. So I've learned some really great things from the ORAC community and great things from Mike and Dion and Matt and Mike. And so part of my mission, in addition to providing safe, secure, comfortable housing for our tenants, is to give back to the community and to try and help others and share some of my experiences and some of what I've learned over the years and have systematic. I hope that helps, Steve.
Yeah. Josh Burdick says, been through 2 PMs who did pretty good placing tenants, but would lie to my tenants and lie to me. Now I'm happily using Hemlane. I think that's a big reason. I think, but yeah, I would, yeah, lie is It kind of depends to me. I think I'm always in the camp of I need to know what I need to know, but I understand the property manager is working for kind of the tenants in some way and the owner, right? So he has to keep two people happy. So in some ways, it's kind of I do understand there's a gray area there. Do you have any systems that you may want to touch on right now, Jeff? I know you want to present like checklists and things like that that you want to talk about.
I do. And actually, if anybody is a member of the ORAT school community, you can look up my posts. I have a really great checklist that I use. I don't know, Mark, if you can share that or if I can share that, how I share that even. But I have a checklist that goes through all the things that the tenant needs to do before they can move into a unit. The things like giving us a security deposit, paying the first month's rent. We need pictures of their driver's license. We want pictures of their social security card. Typically, because we use an application process through apartments.com, I don't actually get to see those items unless I read them. We have gone through the eviction and collections process a couple of times, so I'm familiar with that. We need the driver's license and social security card to help try and trace them after the fact if we need to try and get them for collections. We also ask applicants to fill out a pet screening. If you go to petscreening.com, it helps ADA animals, service animals. It's escaping me now, but they deal with the difference between ADA animals and service animals. They take care of all of that stuff for you. We also make sure we get a tenant information sheet that includes some emergency contact information for each adult that's going to be residing in the property. We want proof of renter's insurance. We want proof that they've changed over to the gas account and the electric account. And then we also have to have a lease signed and agreed on. And then the last thing we do in the checklist is change the locks. Although lately we've been changing all of our locks over to keypads. So it's just a matter of going in and changing the keypad numbers. And then we also do move-in pictures and videos. So that checklist is really important to me because I'm ADHD. It's gone. I won't remember it now again until the next time I have a tenant and I go, oh, don't I have a list somewhere? And so that I can pull up that list. And hopefully I'm smart enough to update it anytime I find something new or missing that I have to update. But if I don't have a checklist, I need to add or update. So that checklist is really valued to me. And then
you said you provided that in school, right? You said you provided that in the school post?
School. Yep.
Okay. So those of you listening right now, yeah, you can.
Yeah, maybe repost it because I went and tried to look it up and I couldn't find it.
The post or the link?
He made a post with the
Yeah, you couldn't find the post, or
couldn't find the post.
I'll share it with.
I searched your name, but you've been so active. All your comments and everything.
So here is his post. Oh shit! Hold on. Here is the post to his or here's the link to his post in school. So if you're in school, you can click on that, and that'll take you right to the thread. And he provides his checklist and things that he uses.
And then this morning I did another post that talks about the whole changeover process, managing tenant turnover. So that, there's basically 4 steps to it. You get notification from the tenant that they want to move out. Then you have to do all of the final move out stuff for the tenant, security deposit reconciliation, inspection of the property, clean out, etc. And then there's the rehab process that you have to go through, all the things you need to take care of when you're rehabbing. And then number 4, you need to fill out the new find and fill out the new tenant, fill out the lease. And so I actually put up on that list with that, and you can look at the PowerPoint presentation, and it breaks down the first page 4 items, and then other pages in the PowerPoint list go into more detail for each step. And that one was just posted this morning, so it should show up really easily for you.
Okay.
Joel, you got anything for Jeff?
Not on that, no.
Okay. Anything else though? You have any questions for Jeff or?
Yeah, Jeff, when did you realize in your journey that this is something that you just were never going to stop?
I guess I've always thought that it would be part of my background because my father was reasonably successful with it and managed to retire and have a portfolio that he sold and, walked away with probably exact number, but I'm sure it was a couple $1 million. It's always kind of been in the background of my mind. When we were in the so-called messy middle with kids and I had my own business, then it was far back in my mind. We weren't really trying to acquire properties, weren't trying to find more properties. And actually my business in 1 year, I went from $250,000 a year of income, $1,000 of income, because I lost my 3 biggest customers. So that was when I learned not to carry debt below my means and to live, I wouldn't say frugally, but, buy cars cash, don't get a credit card debt, stay away from all that stuff. So once that happened, then I ended up, after I lost the 3 big customers, I took a contract with a local manufacturing company and I worked for them for about a year or 2. And then the project that I was supposed to be working on was supposed to be done in 6 years because they were going to eliminate the desktop software and make it a web application. Still has not been, and it's 10 years later. We just officially retired the desktop app completely. So now I'm like in between projects at that point. After 2 years, they hired me on as a full-time equivalent. So I've been working first. Now I'm kind of in limbo trying to figure out what I'm doing next because my technology is really outdated, but I'm trying to learn all about web development and web processes and a technology that most of you don't want to really hear or know anything about. But if you go to a website and you think of an e-commerce site like Amazon or eBay, we kind of have that technology built into our website for buying and selling HVAC equipment. So that's the background that I'm working in. And I got lost on what I was trying to tell you. Oh, so then once I got involved with that company and I started getting a real income again, because we were used to living on, 30 or 40,000 a year, and suddenly now I'm making six figures. We were able to radically save money and come up with some money for some down payments. And a couple other things came along. But once I got that job, I was able to negotiate with the IRS out of into a payment plan and out of some of the back taxes that I owed. And then we refinanced our house and pulled $50,000 out of our house, which I was able to do because now I was employed, and previously I was I was kind of stuck, couldn't really do anything. So that's when I got real serious about investing in real estate again. And we bought a fourplex, real nice townhouses, up down townhouses. So it was 4 townhouses side by side. And then while I was working this day job, there was a coworker who had lots of real estate in York, and he knew I was interested in real estate, and I knew he had real estate, and he was selling off some houses. He was doing a lot of seller financing of some of his houses. And so I said, hey, do you have any multifamilies? Because my wife and I intentionally stay away from single families because we're trying to encourage other people to get on the property ladder. And that's what most people want when they get to the point when they want to try and buy a house. They're about the
Wait, stay right there, Jeff, because I heard you I've heard you mention that before to me about staying away from single family homes. But I believe earlier in the live stream you mentioned you were looking at condos though now, right? Is that what, did I hear you correctly? Or
townhouses. We're looking at townhouses.
So
it would be we would buy a fourplex of townhouses.
Oh, okay.
Or a triplex, or even I'm at the point. Duplexes aren't officially in my buy box. Our buy box is really 5 or more units. So the ideal thing would be to find 6 that are on a single deed that are all together side by side, and then we would buy those and manage those.
Okay. Sorry for interrupting you, but so maybe touch on that a little bit, on why you mentioned before, like you and your wife are kind of like to stay away from single family homes.
Right. We'd much rather see a young family or a single mom or single father go out and buy a single family home that's in their budget and that they can move up from being a renter and get on the property ladder, to help get on the property ladder. And we've had, I can just sitting here thinking quick, I can think of 3 tenants that we've had in the past couple of years that have moved out and bought homes. And so that's really kind of part of our mission, in addition to providing safe, secure, comfortable housing, helping people to realize, hey, I can go out and buy a home and I can do what it needs. So, we offer financing advice, although tenants don't typically really ask and don't really want, but anybody that gives any kind of inkling, we say, well, hey, have you ever talked to a mortgage broker? Do you know if you can get a loan? Do you know what it takes to buy a house, to get a mortgage? And so we kind of try to encourage and support people to step up off of the rental rat race, basically, and get on the property ladder. I say all that and tell you all of that. We do own one single family home, and the only reason we got it is because that investor that I mentioned that we were looking at properties from, we actually bought 16 units from him all at one time. It was 5 different properties. A year or 2 after that, one of our properties, the chimney needed repaired, and it was attached to a single family next to us. And I found out that single family was owned by that same investor that I worked with, that I bought properties from. And I said, hey, we got to do some work on this chimney. And he says, you want to buy it? I'll sell it to you. And so I said, okay. So we bought it. We kind of call it a triplex because it's like, it's in a row attached to our duplex. And so we bought it and rehabbed it, fixed it up, and put a tenant in it. And she's not been a bad tenant. I wouldn't call her a great tenant. She's she gets some assistance. So she really only pays like 10% of the rent, and she's behind a few months on her 10%, but she keeps communicating and she keeps trying. She had a major brain injury, and was coming off of that when she moved into our property. So it's not, I guess we have too much compassion for her that we just let her keep on. But she's not, we've had worse. So anyway.
Lauren, you have anything you want to touch on right now?
Yeah, if you guys ever decided to, because I thought I saw that you were looking in a different market than you were in before, or did I read that wrong?
I don't know. I
Oh,
don't think so. I mean, the only other market that I would really consider at this point is Jen, hold it with PM Jen, her market.
where is she at? Is she also in Pennsylvania?
She is also in Pennsylvania. She's about 3 or 4 hours north of us. So
Okay, so not too far anyway. Mark, is that where you invest as well?
No, I'm in regular Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the
Yeah.
funny thing. Pennsylvania is so people, it's like Pittsburgh and Philly, and then it's like you don't really, like, everyone thinks it's like these two. So, but yeah, they're far away.
Okay.
yeah, the Pittsburgh and Philadelphia are about 6 hours apart.
Damn.
Really? I didn't know that.
See, people don't know. Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Well, and I think also we're so used to East Coast cities being closer together. So that's pretty far apart.
yep.
So for your, going back to your checklist, when you're doing the screening and stuff, are you doing background checks, or you're using apartments.com, you said, and are they doing the background checks?
Yes, we use apartment.com to do the background check. I'm not totally thrilled with their background check, but I'm coming to find out that it's not because of apartments.com. It's because of some laws and regulations that have been passed around background checks. Zillow, we've used Zillow for background checks. I'm not thrilled with their background checks. You can find a lot more in my area. I don't know how it applies to your area, but in my area, I can find a whole lot more by going to the online court docket system and typing in the prospective tenant's name, and all kinds of stuff will come up about them, and you can learn whether they have outstanding landlord tenant violations, evictions, whether they've been drunken driving, whether they have felonies. You basically find a whole lot more just by going to the court docket. So I know the one that I use is basically Pennsylvania. So
okay. And then do you do walkthroughs periodically throughout the time that you have tenants, or once they move in, you kind of leave them be?
it's probably, I'm sure the majority of the world would say I leave them be too much. The majority of our properties are in New York City proper. And New York City requires a biannual, every 2 years, inspection for safety and health concerns. They basically they imply that all they really care about is fire safety and health safety. But when they go in and say, you got to fix that crack in the floor because a tenant could trip on it, I think that's kind of stretching the truth in the matter a little bit. But that gets me into the majority of my properties every 2 years.
Okay.
The newest one that we just acquired, a 10 unit, is in Dover. So it's outside of York City and is not on a regular inspection schedule, but we've been doing improving and stabilizing to try and optimize that property. So I've been in all of the units since we purchased it in July. So I try, you can come up with excuses to go in and look at this and look at that. And while you're there, you can kind of look through and see what's going on. Right now, the tenants that I I forced out the one I wasn't happy with. She wasn't happy being there either. So you don't like living here. You're not happy here. I'm not happy you being here. You move out anytime you want, and I won't penalize you. So, but no, November 1st, when when your lease is supposed to renew, we are not renewing your lease. So she's gone.
All right.
But
I know
other than
Jeff
that,
has
I'm
a
happy.
hard. I know you have a hard stop coming up soon. But let's get to Stephen has one last question for you, maybe. Stephen is asking, I know you've given real estate presentations in the past. Does this also translate to a lot of your family members asking for your advice and assistance with real estate investing?
I do not have a lot of family members that are not already into real estate. My father he started investing with two or three of his brothers. So they've been in the industry for 40 years. They know what they're doing. I've had a couple cousins that we've talked a little bit with about real estate investing, but because it's kind of a family thing, my aunts and uncles are all farmers that go way back. So, they have their idea about real estate investing and they know how to fix things and take care of things. And so, no, I don't get a whole lot of questions from family about real estate investing. But certainly, I have 2 cents I'd share with anybody that asked.
Yeah, so if anyone, if you're not in school and you want to get the checklist, maybe reach out to Jeff and maybe he'll provide you his self-managing checklist. But if you're in school, you go check out his post. Jeff, quickly though, I know Zuber always talks about whether it's starting your YouTube channel, kind of putting yourself out there. You talk or you speak at Toastmasters quite a bit. It seems like, right? Has that been helpful for you?
Yep. It's been great. It's certainly helping me to get more comfortable speaking in front of audiences, in front of people. It's helping me to understand, how to use